G'day everybody. As I mentioned in my training video, I'd sit down and go through all my gear selection for Te Araroa. I've got one more day in Australia and I actually fly out in 2 days time, so getting pretty excited now. I'll probably start off by going through the big 3 items, so my tent for my shelter, my sleeping system and my backpack. And then we'll work through everything and get to our base weight, including and excluding what I'll deem minor consumables. Before we start, obviously base weight doesn't include what I'm wearing, and I thought I'll start off initially and go through all the clothing that I'll generally wear on the trail. And this is going to be a best case scenario, so beautiful sunny day, I'm going to have very lightweight clothing on, which will basically maximize my base weight. And as soon as I get colder weather and I've got to put on a puffer jacket or a mid layer, obviously my base weight will get lighter because I'm wearing it, I'm not carrying it anymore. So let's get started. Okay, so just starting off, this is just like a survival bracelet, just in case I ever need some extra cordage, and it's actually got a whistle on it and a flint as well. There might even be some tinder to start fire in emergency, but if there is, I don't know where it is in the bracelet. Secondly, I've gone with a Garmin Phoenix watch. I don't know too much about it. I really wanted to have a second backup device for navigation. So I based this just on what hikers have worn before me in the watch department, and I'll work out how to use that a little bit more as I go. Then I come to my lightweight layer, and I have to be very careful in the sun. I've had a lot of skin cancer issues and so forth. So this top, really lightweight. It's just a Kathmandu top, but it comes with a full hood as well. So it's got the nice hood on it, and with the sleeves, covers all my arms, and there's a little thumb holes down the bottom of the sleeves so I can put it over and protect my hands a little bit as well. Moving on, just with my hat. I don't know if you can get these in New Zealand, but you can definitely get them in Australia. It's just a BCF hat. It's actually configured at the moment with a bit of a ponytail down the back, but I can take that out, and it actually wraps 360 degrees around my neck, and I can pull it up over my nose and only my eyes appear, so it'll protect my whole face and everything from the sun if I'm getting a lot of reflection. In terms of my footwear, I've gone with the toe socks, and these are creeper socks, which I understand a gentleman in New Zealand started that. Going to be really interesting to see how they last. I've done 250 kilometres on that one pair of socks just in training, and they've held up pretty good. Merino's great. It keeps you warm when it's wet. The downside of merino, though, is it doesn't have good durability. But wear and tear-wise, so far so good, and obviously it doesn't get very smelly. Next thing, again, and I've gone pretty much 100% merino on everything, so I've got merino underwear, and also from Kathmandu, this is a pair of leggings. Cover up the legs from the sun, but also good to keep the insects off. And then I've just got a good pair of nylon shorts. They do have the zip-off leggings, but I'm leaving the leggings at home because I've got the nylon pants anyway. And then finally, obviously, my trekking poles. I went with the carbon fibre poles. They actually split up into 3, so if I'm wanting to stick them in the side of the pack because I don't need them while I'm walking, I can do that. And once we get to the tent department, they also double to put up my tent as well. So that's basically the clothing that I'll be wearing. Then next up, we've actually got the shoes, the footwear. And a lot of people, when they're preparing for a through hike, they talk about the big 3. I almost think it should be the big 4. Your tent's important, your backpack's important, your sleep system's important, but we're trying to do 3,000 kilometres, so our footwear is really important. I looked at a few things, and I really settled on these Topo Trailventures. I'll talk a little bit about the shoes too, because pretty much when you're getting through hiking gear, the more money you spend, the better it is. This is a one exception really, because it costs more to have waterproof shoes. And I found I actually started training in a pair of waterproof shoes. They had the Gore-Tex in them, and if you walk through a few puddles, all well and good, you never got wet feet. But the problem was there was always that little bit of water. If you went through a creek and the water went over the top, always sloshing around in the bottom of your shoe, and I found it really annoying. So this is the non-waterproof version. If I walk through a puddle, I get a wet foot, but I find 10 minutes later, my foot's dry again anyway. I do have some trouble with plantar fasciitis. So I've actually got some inserts here. This is actually the inner soles. And there's a special little plug under my big toe, if you like. And then there's these inserts here which get Velcroed in. And these were absolutely brilliant. And they got a lifetime guarantee, so they don't wear out like other plantar fasciitis inner soles. Lifetime guarantee, really support your arches, and have been a huge help for me. Also gaiters. I think in terms of trying to avoid blisters, obviously I've gone with the toe socks, which is a good start. But also gaiters, just trying to keep sand out of your shoes, particularly on 90 Mile Beach. So I've gone with the, as I say, the Topo athletic boot, and I've got the matching gaiters. This is probably the only thing out of my gear. These gaiters actually match my boots, but one disappointment, there's already a hole formed in the gaiter after only 250k. Now, possibly I'm scraping that with the sole of my shoe, just the way I walk. Either way, I've got a second pair ordered, and they'll be ready for me to collect when I get to New Zealand. So we'll see how the second pair lasts, if this has just been unlucky or if I have the same problem again. Just an addition too, regarding your footwear, I think it's really important that each individual finds what works for them. I've gone with those Topo Athletics. I've got really bad ankle problems in my right ankle. I've got the tendon that actually attaches to my ankle bones completely torn away. If I do roll my ankle, it rolls all the way down till the ankle bone touches the ground, and it doesn't even hurt anymore because there's nothing left in the ankle to damage. But for me, I really needed that extra support around the ankle because I can roll it really easily. I've also got pretty damaged right knee as well, just from sport when I was younger. And it was a bit of a tricky situation for me. If I go with a heavier boot that really supported my ankle, well, then I'd start getting knee pain. If I lighten up my shoe so I don't get the knee pain, well, then my ankle didn't tend to be anywhere near as well supported. But I found those Topo Trailventures, they just fitted my foot perfectly. They're pretty much the same weight as a trail running shoe anyway. It only had a small drop. The sole was a little bit thicker. So I think it's really up to the individual. Try different things before you get to the trail. The last thing you want to do is start on the trail and then find out that your shoes, that they're not suitable for you. I've done a fair few kilometres in these shoes. I've looked at reviews from other people and tried a few things that I didn't like, and that's what I've settled on. But my advice would be you work out what settles or suits your feet the best. Don't go for durability. The Topos actually have probably the best reviews for durability, but if you're more comfortable in a different brand of shoe and you've got to do the Araroa in 4 pairs of shoes, do it in 4 pairs of shoes. Okay, so this is the pack. I settled on the Kakwa 55 by Durston gear. I've got everything in it, and I've weighed this for my base weight, and I'll let you know what that is at the end of the video. Look, it's pretty full, 55 litres. I certainly wouldn't want to go any smaller for what I want to take with me, but I also wouldn't want to go any bigger either, because there's just that temptation to put more and more in, and that just puts your base weight up. This whole back pocket really expands a lot, so I've got heaps of room. I've got a waterproof food bag in there, and we'll get into that a little bit later. It really came down to the Durston gear, Kakwa 55. The other options, we're looking at the Z-Pack options. Z-Packs certainly have more flexibility. You can choose your hip strip or your straps around your waist. You can choose what fittings you like on your straps over your shoulders and so forth. But really, I just like the simplicity of this, and I looked at reviews with a lot of people, and I didn't really see a bad review. Everybody who got it really, really liked it. So it'd be good to see how it holds up on trail. I'll let you know as I go. Okay, so we're going to jump into the sleep system now. And my approach with the big 3 items, tent, your backpack and your sleep system, was to go as light as I possibly could with my tent and my backpack. And then I could get a few extra kilograms in to get a more comfortable sleep system. So I ended up going with a slightly wider sleep pad. I've got a gossamer gear, just a thin foam pad that stops things slipping around. And then I've gone with the Zenbivy quilt system. and that's really comfortable, and added in a extra pillow with a little topping, duck down topping layer and so on. So we'll run through those things. I just thought that was important for me as an older hiker. Sleep's going to be the way I get my recovery. The whole system comes in around about the 3 kilogram mark, so I was pretty happy with that. The whole system as in backpack, tent and sleeping system. So here's the pillow I was talking about. So that red item's my pillow slip, and there's my duck down topper, and finally the inflatable bladder as well. I've always had trouble with inflatable pillows, and I end up waking up with a sore ear, but that duck down topper is amazing. I've had brilliant sleeps with that duck down topper. I've never woken up once with a sore ear. So here's my sleep system. I've actually ended up with a Thermarest NeoAir sleeping pad. The main reason for that was when I was ordering my Zenbivy quilt system, they'd sold out of their own sleeping pads, and strangely enough, when I was forced to basically go with the Thermarest, it saved me a few pounds anyway, and it was just as wide, and I'm actually really happy with it. I did watch a channel once over in the USA with a couple, and they were saying the amount of people that sleep in their own bed before a long distance hike, thinking it's more comfortable, and they don't actually start sleeping a couple of weeks out on their camping mattresses to get used to them. Their recommendation was to do it as early as you can, a couple of weeks out, start getting used to it. And I'm glad I did. I found this quilt system here. This is like my little fitted sheet. I had to actually do up the little straps that wrap around the pad pretty tight because I found those were rotating. Here's the pillow that I just showed you the components of. If we look on this little pillow, there's some little lugs on here. And they actually hook up under this little hood. And there's some little fixing points. Pretty hard to see, but there's some little fixing points here. And that can stop your pillow from moving around. For me personally, I found once the pillow goes up under this hood, it didn't move around very much anyway, and just the way I sleep, I quite often tuck my arm up underneath my pillow anyway, so I don't actually use those little hooks. On this little quilt system, you'll see some little hooks here, that's on the sheet, and that's to actually attach the quilt in really cold weather, so you actually get no drafts and it holds the heat in. I was really shocked at how light this system was when I received it. I thought, man, I've made a mistake here. There's no way this is going to keep me warm. I was really surprised. It dropped down to 11 degrees Celsius here last night, and I slept on the system, and all I had on was a pair of boxer shorts, and I had to keep poking my feet out to regulate the temperature. I just got hot straight away. So this is what it looks like with the top quilt thrown on top there. As I say, you can hook it in, and I got the ultra lightweight one, so you can see just the shape down the bottom here. It's got a little foot box. There was a lightweight version where the quilt opened up into a big rectangular quilt. I really decided I'd save those extra pounds. It didn't really make any difference to me. In terms of inflating the mattress, it just comes with this inflation bag. These days they don't recommend you blow up your mattress yourself, just because of the moisture in your breath, and that moisture can get inside your sleeping pad and cause just decay and mould and that to start to form inside your sleeping pad. There is always that temptation. You can get these little pumps these days, rechargeable pumps, so you don't have to use that sack to pump up your sleeping mattress. I just like to keep it simple. Pumps, another thing that I've got to charge, and it only takes me a couple of minutes with that sack to inflate the mattress. Looks like I've got my little helper here asking me a heap of questions. Okay, so this is a sleep system packed up. Breaks down relatively small. I did have to put these extra compression straps on. They were 60 grams, but with the Kakwa 55 pack, I really needed to do that just to compact things down to fit everything in. Pillow in the middle, and that's the Thermarest mattress. And there was the Gossamer Gear, little thin foam pad, and I'll talk about that a little bit more when I start going through the tent. Okay, just moving on to the tent now. When I started looking at tents, there's so many things on the market and lots of people with lots of opinions. Double skinned tents, single skinned tents. Some of the disadvantage of a double skin tent is sometimes you have to put the inside up first before you pull the fly over. If it's raining, all the inside of your tent gets wet. Some people see that as an advantage of a single skin tent. You put it up and it's raining, the inside doesn't get wet, but then there's a disadvantage of a single skin tent. You can get a lot of condensation, which makes you wet anyway. There's also the option of a freestanding tent where you actually have a frame. Disadvantages, they tend to be a little bit heavier, and then you go to a lighter weight tent which is supported by your hiking poles. In the end, I opted to go with a single skin and a lightweight tent that I can put up with my hiking poles, and it really came down to two tents for me. There was the Z-Pack's duplex tent and the Durston Gear X-Mid Pro 2. In the end, I settled on the X-Mid Pro 2. I'm really happy with the tent. I've used it a little bit just to get myself ready for Te Araroa, just been sleeping in my yard. Really simple. If the weather's good, you can put in 4 pegs, pop your 2 poles in and the tent's up. It's that simple. The footprint is reasonably big, I guess. I did go with the 2-person tent. I find with all small camping tents, a 2-person tent is really comfortable for 1 person. And this tent's, I'm going to spend a lot of nights in this tent. It's going to be my accommodation, so I wanted to be a little bit more comfortable. And there's only a few extra tiny little grams. One thing a lot of people talk about is putting a ground sheet. You can get a fitted ground sheet under the X-Mid Pro 2. I did order that. It was reasonably heavy, and I just found it was a real nuisance when it came to packing up. I have to unclip it, it'd take that much longer, and I could see that it was really going to frustrate me. But they do that because it's lightweight, very thin fabric. They're trying to protect their tub floor. That's where the Gossamer Gear little thin foam pad that I showed you guys before underneath my Thermarest sleeping mat, I find that really useful. I actually shove it down when I pack my pack down the back of the pack, because I've got a lightweight pack. There's no frame to separate the pack from my back. So if I've got hard items in my pack, like my cooking system, it can poke into your back. So having that foam pad, I can push it down the back, and it just gives me a little bit of protection. Then it's got another use underneath my foam pad to stop it slipping around. But when I'm in the tent on that thin tub floor, I actually just kneel on that foam pad while I'm blowing up my mattress, and then it just stops my knees pushing down, probably in the same spot all the time on that little tub floor. So a few uses for everything. I have actually got a bit of a shot walking around the tent. I'll show you that next. You'll see it. This was just a simple setup. Weather was good. I had 4 pegs, and I put 2 extra pegs in just on each side of the door, so then I could unzip the doors in that one-handed if I wanted to. And I zoom in the video, you can see there's a couple of pockets for storage, and I'll just show you my full sleep system set up in the tent. I'm 5'6", I'm certainly not blessed with height, but either way, the chance of my sleep system touching the end walls of the tent and getting condensation and getting wet is pretty slim. Okay, just looking at tent pegs, and seems like a pretty boring topic, I know, but when I ordered the tent from Durston Gear, these are the pegs that pretty much came with it. You could order them as an extra. I really wasn't happy when I got them, because you can see they just go in 2 directions. This one is a groundhog. If you actually look down the end of them, I hope you can see that on the video, you can see how it's got 3 wings, if you like, for strength. And this is probably the structural engineer coming out of me. This one, when you look down the end's only got 2, so that'll bend really, really easy. I then ordered these groundhogs, and it cost me around about, I think it was $60 or $80 Australian to get 6 of them. And then I stumbled across these ones, which are actually lighter, and it's a small Australian supplier called Elton Goods. It's actually in the star picket shape. It's almost the same length. You can compare them here. It's almost the same length as a groundhog peg. And it cost me, I think it was $16 for 8 of these. I thought I just couldn't go wrong. They're lighter. They're, almost identical strength-wise, just because of the shape of them. So on trail, I'm going to put the groundhogs in a jump box. It's going to go down to a relative's house in Hamilton, just in case I regret it. But I don't think I'm going to be disappointed with these Elton Goods pegs, so that's what I've chosen to start with. Just another little item too. This is just a little cap that goes over the end of a pipe that I got from a hardware store in Australia. So there's the peg that I was going to use. And some people say you can put this over the top and it just makes it harder to push the peg into the ground with your hand. Other people warn about it and say they've seen these caps split, and then people's hand slides down the top of the peg and they end up with a big gash in their arm. I understand that as well. So I'll certainly be keeping an eye on this, but makes a big difference. I was trying to find a little steel one or something that was about the right size, but I couldn't find one. So if anybody's got any pointers, experienced hikers, know a better sort of cap or something to put on top of the peg so you can push them in easy, but they're a bit safer than a plastic one, drop a note in the comments and let us all know so we can all get a better solution.